Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live on In Between Media. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the whole damn channel. We got US Open week. It used to be the second major. It's now the third major on the calendar. It's my favorite one because all we can expect is carnage. Absolute mayhem on the golf course for 4 days, 72 holes that most amateur golfers couldn't even survive walking 72 holes in these conditions. Let's go. I can't wait. Los Angeles Country Club. Let's hit that intro. So it is US Open week. Father's Day tradition is to sit on your duff as a dad and watch golf. That's all I did when I was a kid, watch golf with my dad on US Open Sunday. Now I'm a dad myself. That's what I'm going to do. I don't care about anything else. You can buy me a watch or a tie or I don't care. As long as I get to sit on my couch, drink some beer, watch some golf. Los Angeles Country Club. It's going to be ruthless. And you know, Conor, I love carnage. I love terrible scoring golf where it makes all of these best, like 3 million tiers above the average golfer look like one of us. I can't wait. Conor, how are you doing? Are you jacked up as all get up about the US Open this week?
Absolutely pumped, stoked, ecstatic, ready to rock, dude. Yeah, and dude, all the footage I've seen so far of this course looks awesome. It kind of looks like unlike anything else that really you get to see on tour. So I'm just pumped to watch this one. I don't know that I agree with you that it's going to be as much carnage as some of the majors typically are, but we'll get into that.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I kind of get what you're saying here. But yes, the course looks intriguing. It looks interesting. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies that this course has that other traditional courses just don't have. It's going to be a unique challenge for the best golfers on planet Earth. What do you say we spin it back? Because I really don't care about the Canadian Open, even though I did beat you by over 100 points in DFS this week. I don't think we need to hit that. This is a major. I don't want to talk about the Canadian Open, even though I won.
I think we do owe it to our Canadian listeners to at least call out that brilliance that was Nick Taylor making a 72-foot putt to snap 69-year winless streak for the Canadians. So shout out to our boys in Canada. I think that
the loony bin.
Pretty wild.
That was an incredible finish. 4th playoff hole. I thought for sure that our guy Tommy Fleetwood was going to win his first PGA Tour event. Not to be. Nick Taylor, man. You would think based on name value alone that between the two of those it would have been Fleetwood that already had a PGA Tour win. Nope, that was Nick Taylor's second PGA Tour win and 72-foot eagle on the 4th playoff hole. Adam Hadwin, his good buddy, he looks a little sketchy. He's got the homeless looking beard, all unkempt, spraying champagne all over the place, gets absolutely form tackled by the security guard on the 18th green. That was awesome. And of course, you know, Adam Hadwin's a great sport about it. He quote tweeted and said, "That's what it's all about."
Oh, and his wife got in his ass too about it. So that was always good.
Oh, she's ruthless. I love it.
Yeah, our boys that got the football show tonight in a little mock draft, you might consider grabbing that security guard in the late rounds, or maybe even Hadwin for just a long bomb, because boy, could he take a tackle, and he was up at it and just partying again. So
Oh, yeah, he did have 2 wins before that. It was his 3rd win on PGA Tour. Tommy Fleetwood, sorry, you still don't have a single PGA Tour win, even though he's, I think, top 35 in every single strokes gained category there is. Can't put it away.
Yeah, it's a little tough when you start spraying the ball the way he was. I mean, yeah, but yeah, to your point, not to belabor it, great win for Canada. Nick Taylor handled it like a consummate professional. So that was really cool, and it was a great tournament, great end to a tournament. So I think that's
that
all
putt got me. That putt got my butt off my chair. Wow.
Yeah, I was fist bumping all over like I was on Jersey Shore or something. That was incredible golf.
Well, with the wedge shot Fleetwood hit, his birdie putt was definitely makeable. And Nick Taylor even said, I expected Tommy to make that putt, and we were probably going to go to a 5th playoff hole if that putt didn't go down. So the only worry I thought was, make sure he doesn't leave too much meat on the bone for his birdie, because you almost have, in that situation in head-to-head golf, you almost feel like you assume that your opponent's going to make that birdie putt. So that was just absolute nail in the coffin. Longest putt he's made as a professional golfer. That's cool.
That putt was so perfect. Dead center cup, perfect speed, perfect read. I mean, yeah, it was just
in the rain.
Meant to be, man. So shout out to Nick Taylor and Canada. And let's get into the US Open.
Yeah, let's not shout out Corey Connor's choke job. So before we hit the drop, to twirl some clubs, what are you drinking, Conor?
I don't often
I saw some really nice dark juice in your glass.
I don't often repeat, but I walked down here this evening and I looked up on the shelf and I was like, God, that looks good. So we're going to rock the basil laden dark rye.
That's a gorgeous, gorgeous bottle.
Isn't that
compliments of Utah?
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, and you got the ball bearings.
Yeah, I can't be getting up to get ice, man.
Yeah, well, I just don't even. I just pour it neat and go with it. Go from there.
You're a real man.
It's the US Open, and the one thing that's going to be a rarity this week is Eagles. I went with my old boy Eagle Rare. Tough to find in certain parts of the country. The prices have gotten a little out of control, though. This used to be a $30 bottle. Now it's $60. You don't love to see it. It's too popular. It's really good bourbon, but it's not $60 bourbon.
No, it's still one of my favorites. But man, if you're
it's delicious.
Yeah, it's a tough ask getting up over $40 for that bottle. Like $28.99 is what I've always paid for it. And my
exactly.
God, it's a steal at $28.99.
Yeah, I paid $29 for this at Costco back last time Costco had it, and now you can't find it. And when you do find it, it's $60, and it's just not worth it. So I'm gonna wait it out. If I finish this bottle, so be it.
Well, you better finish that bottle tonight.
Yeah, there's one pour left after this, so chances are quite strong.
Get after that bottle.
All right, let's hit the drop. Twirling clubs. That's what we're going to do. It's a major. We're definitely getting aggressive with the betting slips. At least I am. This is the most units I've played all season. I feel great about it. I love California golf courses. I got a good feel for California golf courses, so we're getting aggressive. So normally this part of the show is kind of quick and easy, but Los Angeles Country Club is so interesting. Like, I don't think it's anything other than very interesting. The layout is super unique. It's a course designer that's known for Riviera and others down there in Southern California. Conor, tell us about Los Angeles Country Club North Course, I believe.
I learned a new vocabulary word this week. I'll get to it here in a second. So LA Country Club in beautiful Los Angeles, California, 7,400 yards and some change. They can get a bit longer if they want to. It is a par 70. We got bent grass greens, Bermuda fairways, fairly deep rough. Not It's funny with the rough because you heard a lot of people and you've seen some videos and stuff online of this ridiculously deep rough, and that a lot of the players are saying that's just not the case. There are some very deep spots, specifically around bunkers, but the rough is not as bad as previous majors have been. So 5 par threes, 3 of which are over 280 yards, which is brutal.
Yeah, John Rahm in his practice round shot made par with a 3-wood off the tee for Rahm, who's one of the longer hitters on tour. That's bananas.
There's straight up guys that are going to have to hit driver. I mean, seriously. Yeah. I mean, that's no joke. The par fours are actually pretty lengthy too. All of them are over 450, and 3 of them can be stretched out to the mid 500s. So that's no joke.
Yeah.
Par 5 actually are looking to be some of the better scoring opportunities. They're actually relatively tame in length compared to the rest of the course. Top 60 and ties are going to make the cut here. Really, I think a couple things to think about player wise. This course, even though it is a little lengthy, it is going to be set up to be like a true test. So short guys have a chance. I prefer longer guys, but all the way around, you've got.
I bet you do.
Oof, that's what she said.
Woof.
But yeah, like I said, it's kind of anybody's game, I think, here. The new word that I learned this week that I had to Google is barrancas. And so what a barranca
You didn't know what a barranca is?
So I've played golf in California twice in my entire life, which is predominantly where you see these are going to be your more arid desert type places. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for those people that don't know what they are, it's going to be like the kind of wasteland chewed up parts of the course you see. It's like these kind of what they were originally used for is to like kind of help with irrigation, transport water from point to point on the course. What they are now is a lot more. They're basically a ditch with a bunch of vegetation in them. But so the interesting thing about them though is because it's like this spotty, sporadic growth and again a ditch. You're going to have guys that are going to hit in them straight lose their ball. You're going to have guys that hit in it have a perfectly clean shot. Not only from the vegetation sometimes, but also from the kind of the dirt base. So they're definitely funky. You're going to think that it's like this overgrowth on the course as you're watching it if you haven't seen a course like this before. But that's what they have in lieu of water hazards, really. So these kind of waste bunkers that are ditches. So that's my new word for the week.
Yeah, and say it with me. La barranca.
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 And then the last thing I'll touch on is there really aren't a whole lot of good course comps here, but one thing to know is that this kind of parallels even Augusta with the elevation changes and the undulations you're going to see everywhere. So there
undulations,
and they're not just in the fairways. You've got some pretty serious slope all over the greens. You got some pretty serious breaks. Putting may actually matter a bit this week. So a lot of undulation, a lot of think Augusta, but a little more arid, and that probably gets you at least part of the way.
Augusta with the rough grown out longer. One thing that's notable about that rough, you mentioned that it's not as long and severe as people are making out to be on social media. The one thing that is noteworthy is it is a kukui blend rough, which is very common in Southern California. And so it's thick. Like your ball drops down in there and you're going to get a lot of grass between the club face and the ball. And you're going to have flyers that shoot over the green by 20 yards. And then you get guys that barely make it back into the fairway because when you have that kind of grass, it's just almost impossible to gauge distance and spin out of it. That's what's going to be the challenge because these greens are going to be lightning fast. Lots of slope, severe undulations, like Conor said. And the USGA is not dumb. They made the rough really nasty along the fairways that are widest in US Open history. And they're like, okay, you missed the fairway. Good luck holding it on the green because we're not going to grow the rough out around the green. So we're going to mow that nice and tight. So if you're hitting out of the rough, it's going to skip over the green. It's going to bounce off rocks. It's going to go into the barranca. It's going to roll up into these collection areas that have extremely tightly mown areas. And good luck trying to gauge spin off of a tight lie. You have to understand the bounce of the wedge perfectly. You have to have perfect touch to make the shots. So missing these nice wide fairways is going to be extremely penal.
Royal nailed it in the chat too. Like Kikuya is very sticky. It'll grab the club, it'll grab the ball. Like if you're in the rough here, you're going to want guys that
the
got
blades go like this.
Yeah, I mean it's literally like a trap. So yeah, I'm going to prefer guys that have a little more strength overall here. I mean, like I said, you can make an argument to bet play almost any type of golfer, but I'm leaning more towards the bombers and a little bit of bomb and gouge, to be honest. Even though I'm
bomb and gouge with the short game, because that's going to be it.
That's what I'm thinking too. I've got a couple of oddballs in there and I got a couple of long shots, but we can get into it. You go ahead, Bo, lead us off.
All right. I think we are going to be unanimous with our top guy here, Mr. Brooks Koepka. Last time I checked, it's a difficult course. Check. And it's in a major. Check. That's Brooks Koepka. And I was going to bet Brooksy as cheap as 8-1 because I figure him is in the same tier as Scheffler and Rahm. There's no way you can argue that he's not in that top tier because he'd be in the top 3 in the world rankings if not for his presence on the LIV Tour. This is Brooks Koepka's game. This is the type of course where you get the bomb and gouge guy who's got great touch around the greens, decent putter. His putter gets hot, like red hot, like it did at the PGA, and it's curtains for everybody else in a major because Brooksy ain't going to give it up, especially after what happened at the Masters. Is this guy is going to be the closer if he's anywhere near the top of the leaderboard come Sunday. 12-1 for him is an absolute steal.
Yep, he's the top of mine as well. Like I've been banging the drum for him all year, every time that he's teed it up in one of these events. And I mean, quite honestly, you can't really poke any holes in Brooks right now. Like he looks like he's fully back. I mean, he just, he went through all the issues he had with some of his injuries and so on and so forth. Had some mental stuff going on for a while. Did the whole LIV thing and started getting on a tear on LIV, and then comes over, damn near wins the Masters. And we've talked about that before. He gained almost 7 strokes on approach that week, and then comes back and wins the PGA Championship. I see absolutely no reason why Brooks can't win this week.
Yeah. He's won three Wanamaker's for the PGA, and he's won 2 US Opens. I'm pretty sure he's going to be towards the top. Feel free to bet him outright. Feel free to bet him top 5, top 10. Every single bet you can put on Brooks Koepka is fine by me. Then we can go to my next one is Xander Schauffele at 18-1. So I know you're not going to agree with me, are you?
Well, no, it wasn't even that. They're just, before we get too far down the board, I mean, first, I think we should probably touch on Rahm and Scheffler.
Boo.
So I'm not in the camp that wants to bet them. They're super short. They're both fluctuating between 6.5 and 7. I honestly don't think they win. But 2, that's incredibly short. So you'll hear a lot of people banging the drum for Scotty specifically. Rahm doesn't have nearly the steam, at least not from anything that I've read or listened to. I think if you want to bet one, it's probably Scheffler, but I honestly think that's unbettable. So, and then the other guy I was going to touch on before we get a little deeper to yours is Rory. This is a course with just hallmark Rory McIlroy type of course. You got a little wider fairways now. It's going to help him. He's had some struggle off the tee. Looked like he found some stuff last week. Wedge game looked to be somewhat back. He had a couple of flyers, but nothing crazy. And the putter actually looked like it was rounding back into form. So a little bit, but again, same point I made the last few times he's teed it up. 12-1 for Rory seems maybe a little bit long for who he is. I think he should probably be in that probably 10-1 realm, or even a little lower than that. So I don't hate taking a couple shots at Rory right there with Brooks.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just looking at one thing that I heavily weighted was putting, putting on fast greens, putting in general on bent grass greens. That's important. Uh, and what Scheffler's been going through is gaining 20 strokes from tee to green, losing 7 on the greens putting. No, thank you. I will not trust a guy who can't putt. He's changing putters by this time he starts his Thursday round. No go for that. Rahm's putter has been streaky. It's when it's on, it's unbelievable. When it's off, it's usually on fast greens. We're gonna be rolling a 14 on the stimp this week. I don't trust Rahm, and Rory did look better on the greens in Canada. However, these greens are not forgiving. These greens demand perfection, and Rory just doesn't have that stroke right now. So, as far as I'm concerned, I trust Brooks's putter more than everybody else in that less than 20-1 range. It's just, for me, that's the one that stands out. It's like, who do I trust to make that putt? And Brooks Koepka is really the only one up there that I like.
Yeah, right now, absolutely agree with you. There's a couple guys that I'll mention as we get down though too, where just if their putter is halfway what it normally is. So
Right.
so anyways, I'll let you rap about Xander because you're right, I do not agree.
So Xander's worst statistic is on approach. I do agree that approach is pretty important here. However, he's so good off the tee, accuracy wise. He's so good around the greens. He's one of the best putters on the planet. The guy's a grinder. The tougher the course, the better Xander plays. He's not going to be flappable on Sunday. He's not going to collapse if he's out front. For me, that just screams a solid bet to win the US Open. And his recent form looks like it's Xander at full strength. He's looking sharp out there. Like everything is dialed for Xander Schauffele. And it's going to take 72 really tough holes to win this thing. And that's another thing. That's another notch in a guy's belt that's just as tough as nails under pressure.
Yeah, so his approach game isn't the part that worries me. It's actually the trend that he's on with his putter. In 3 of his last 4 starts, he's gained almost 4 strokes on the putting green, and bordering on 5 at one of the events. And to be honest, I think that comes back down to earth. I think this place equalizes that a bit. So I think he's still an excellent putter. Don't get me wrong, but a big part of what's been carrying him through a lot of the last starts is that putter. And as good as he is, again, I just think it gets equalized a bit here. So I don't hate Xander, but I don't love it. It's kind of where you're at with Rory, right? Like you don't hate the
Yeah.
guy, but
No, I definitely never hate Rory.
but yeah, so that's my apprehension with him is I just kind of looked at that recency with that putter, and that's a pretty tough streak to continue.
Yeah, it's also something that I like to see is recent form putting, and of course, it's going to demand good putting under a lot of pressure. That's for me. I'm looking at the same thing, going, "Oh la la, Xander Schauffele." I mean, he's riding a hot putter, and yes, it very well could get derailed at a course this tough. But another notch in his belt is the wedge game. That 100-yard wedge shot is going to be pretty popular on this course because some of the holes are long and they're going to demand 3 shots. Some of these holes are short and they're going to demand a layup with a wedge. I think we're going to get a lot more wedge approaches than people think. And so a lot of my bets are guys that are just nails with a sand wedge from 100 yards in. And Xander's up there with everybody in that regard. Because I mean, we didn't mention the 15th hole. We mentioned the 2 long par 3s. The 15th hole is only 134 yards, and it can be scaled as short as 78 yards. Yeah. And so that hole is going to tell us a lot about who's good under pressure, because if your knees are wobbling and your adrenaline is jacked, there is no tougher shot than a 3/4 wedge shot, because you have to be perfect on distance, perfect on alignment, because the landing area on that hole is going to be the size of a thimble.
Yeah, I mean, probably kind of. Again, I think there are worse things that you can put your money towards. But to be honest, in that range, I like Victor Hovland significantly better. I like the form he's in.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's competing. I like the key metrics for the proximities that we're looking at. Like he is far superior on those longer approaches to Xander. His around the green game has actually been markedly improved.
He's gonna need it.
I think
it's gonna need it,
just like everybody, right? But the other things I like about him is he's good on recovery. Like if he does end up in the rough, like he finds a way to get it done. His off the tee game has been pretty damn good, and it's only going to be better this week in terms of accuracy and second shot setup. So I think I'm going to keep rolling with Victor, and I may be late on Xander, but I just have a better feel for Victor and what he's been doing recently. So
I mean, Victor won me money 2 weeks ago. I like Victor. How could I not?
No, 100%.
Victor's cool in my book these days.
and cheers to you, because that was a good call. Like that was a great call that week.
Smashed it. Yeah, but, made up for a few cold weeks where I was only cashing 3-1 top 20 bets, and it's just putting along. You mentioned Victor and Xander both at 18-1. And then the odds really jump. It goes from 18 to 30, and there's a big group from between 30 and 35-1, headlined by what seems to be a misprice on Jordan Spieth. 30-1 for a guy that's that good at short game and clutch putting and scrambling on a course that's going to require amazing scrambling. Why do you think people are on Scotty Scheffler this week? There's not a better scrambler on the planet than Scotty Scheffler. You don't bet him because he can't putt, but you got Jordan Spieth up here playing just as well, and the fairways are wider. The guy can't find the fairway with a map, but I mean, when it comes to take one golfer, place your ball in the trees, and you say make par from the trees. Who you picking? You're picking Jordan Spieth.
Every time.
You're buried in a greenside bunker, and you need to get up and down for the win. Who are you talking to? Jordan Spieth. It's just for me, it just seems like, as much as I don't like playing Jordan Spieth most of the time, this course fits his game to a T.
Yeah, I see it. I do. I
don't want to see it, but I do. Why am I like this?
No, I think you make some good points about Jordan, and the only thing that I worry about with Jordan is that there is some level of accuracy and setup that goes into. You got to plot a little bit here. You got to be lined up for your second shot, and you're right. He gets his ass out of trouble pretty frequently. I just think that the danger that lies on this course is not exactly Jordan Spieth danger, right? Like Jordan, to your point, nestle himself at the base of a tree and somehow manages to find his way onto the green. I think he hits into one of these ditches, or he hits into the deep rough around one of these fairway side.
There's going to be a cutaway within an hour on Thursday of Jordan Spieth with his dust covered shoes from being in the Barranca. There's going to be Jordan Spieth within the first hour of coverage of his round on Thursday. You're going to see a cutaway to Jordan Spieth in the Barranca.
Yeah, and probably yelling at himself and talking all the way down the fairway. I mean,
talking to himself at Michael Greller.
Yeah, exactly. Talking through himself to Michael Greller. No, so I mean, another bet that I don't mind placing. I think for the same odds, though, I'd rather go to Cam Smith. I think this course sets up really, really well for Cam Smith.
My guy.
And dude, like they've been making a bunch of comparisons to this being somewhat similar to a lot of the Australian courses. So I think guys like Minwoo Lee, Cam Smith, guys that have experience with this type of
Adam Scott
would be another guy who's in great form. But yeah, Cam Smith, I mean, if you look at Cam Smith's game, there really isn't anything that he does poorly. He can get a little bit wild off the tee from time to time, but I mean, if you're going to knock him for that, you got to knock half the guys in this range for the same thing. And it is a significantly wider fairway. Cam Smith's great at getting himself out of trouble. He's got a good approach game. Specifically, he gets a little bit better at distance, which you're going to need. I really like the possibility of him winning here.
It's your situation that we are going through with Spieth. It's like, you're 150 yards in the middle of the fairway. Who do you want to make birdie? Well, I'm picking the most lethal guy from 150 yards through the hole in the world, and that's Cameron Smith. With a wedge and a putter, if you just had a tournament where they could only use a wedge and a putter, Cam Smith would win by 10 shots. The dude is so nails in that short area. And with the flat stick, this guy's an absolute world-class putter. This is the kind of course where it's wham, wham, wham. Every single box is checked for Cam Smith here. Every single one. He was my first knee-jerk reaction pick last week when I was plotting everything out. I'm like, who am I probably going to be writing about this week? It was instantly Cam Smith. Cammy Mullets is going 30-1. What a steal for the 10th ranked golfer in the world.
And that's actually what really turned me on to him. Like, right, like you, I had kind of a knee-jerk reaction, even just kind of course overview. I was like, man, this just feels like a Cam Smith track. And then I dove into the numbers, and I'm like, 30-1. Yeah, absolutely.
Smash.
Yeah. So I think the book's got him wrong, and I think everybody should take advantage of that. I think he's got a real shot here.
He's 6-1 to top 5 and plus 275 for top 10. Joking. They are comically joking with us. They are chortling. They're chortling at us with those odds. Just back the Brinks truck up. We're taking money on Cam Smith this year. The books are going to be blistered after this weekend. Blistered. Another 30-1 here. Max Homa, wider fairways. I think Max Homa could make some noise here right in his backyard.
Pass.
I don't love him to death. Yeah, okay. Pass. So you're passing him at the same odds as Max Homa is my second favorite guy, maybe one of your favorite guys, Mr. Dustin Johnson.
Fire him up.
Cha-ching! The live discount on Cam Smith, Brooks Koepka, and my guy DJ. The live discount in the books is phenomenal. It's free money. It is free money. They are taking top 5, top 10 golfers in the world and discounting them, giving us free odds of 10 to 15 extra from what I would predict they were going to finish here. We learned our lesson from the Masters and the PGA with Brooksy. DJ was there at both of those two. It doesn't make any sense that this guy's 35-1. He was the number 1 golfer in the world like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and again, somebody has to explain to me how some of these guys are shorter than he is. Like, really, Max Homa? Like
7-1 top 5. Plus 330 for top 10 for Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
Back the truck up.
If you don't know who Dustin Johnson is, I mean, yeah.
You don't know who Paulina Gretzky is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not going to fight you 1 ounce on Dustin Johnson. I think he should be priced, like I said, somewhere down like 18-1 or even shorter. So yeah. I think that's a great value.
35 guys, 35-1 for Dustin Johnson. Woof. You have anybody down lower in that 40 to range?
Oh, I do.
I actually don't. I hope you're going to say Hideki. I hope that's one of my guys.
I am going to say Hideki. I'm showing him 40-1. Hideki really has a lot of the tools that you want here too.
45 on Hideki.
Yeah, so I do think you can get that boosted even at some sites. I was looking at it. I've seen it as good as 50.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, Hideki, good long iron player, good approach player, relatively good off the tee, add a little bit of width for him. Pretty accurate guy. Probably the part that kind of worries me with Hideki is some of that short game, some of that around the green game is not always completely nails.
He's still top 10 in the world there, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I like Hideki a lot here. I do worry though a little bit with some of the putting. It is a tough place, but when you make comparisons like I did to Augusta, things like that, you really, I mean, Hideki's won at Augusta, so being able to play on uneven lies, being able to read crazy breaks on greens,
hitting chip shots on tight lies comes to mind.
Yeah,
his wedge work around the greens at Augusta when he won 2 years ago, that was some of the best wedge work on tight lies I've ever seen. The dude was absolutely nails with the wedge. That's going to be pretty important here, guys. And he's a good enough putter, I think, to get hot and make noise.
Yeah, the other thing too, really, that I love about Hideki is he avoids bogeys, right? Like he may this is going to be a little bit lower scoring than I think probably a lot of people would have thought going into it, but I still think you got to
What's your
avoid.
guess?
I'd say between 10 and 12.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's 10 to 12.
Wow. A USGA is going to allow that? If somebody goes out and shoots a 65 on Thursday, which is only 5 under, if somebody shoots a 65 on Thursday, USGA is going to make everything hell on Friday and Saturday. That's a guarantee because they changed their mind like this. Remember Shinnecock a few years ago? They dried everything out to where you couldn't even hold the green no matter what. And the players were crying about it. And the USGA is spiteful like that. They don't want good scores here.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. But I will say that pretty much every single person that's walked on this course so far is not intimidated and doesn't think that it's playing nearly as hard as what they anticipated coming in. And if you strip away some of the factors that don't seem to be in play, I mean, it's a tough course. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think 10's out of the realm of possibility. 12 is somebody on a heater, but I really do think 10 is a pretty reasonable number here.
That would be remarkable. That would be for US Open. That it would be a remarkable. My guess here is 3 under par. I agree with you that it's not like the USGA wants their winner to be barely under par or even or a bit over par. They don't mind that one bit. And I do think this course isn't quite like it's not Shinnecock. It's definitely not Kiowa Island. It's not a course that you can make darn near impossible to play. That's not this course is meant to be a really unique, different change of pace type course for the USGA. They can showcase the different landscapes with a lot of big money in that area. There's a reason this tournament is at this exact place. The PGA Tour and the USGA are raking it in with the clientele around that area. This course is in Beverly Hills, guys. Beverly Hills. And the USGA, I think they know it's a little bit easier, but I think they're going to really ramp things up if they do show to be too easy on the first round. So 3 under, I think, is better than most people might be expecting, but not quite as lofty as what you said.
I mean, shit, dude. Last year, you have Fitzy shooting 6 under. You got Scheffler shooting 5 under. You got Zalatoris shooting 5 under. And I think that was a tougher course. I really do. So,
at Brookline? I don't agree.
No, I think it was. I really think that this course is going to end up being. I think if you stay out of trouble, I think you can definitely score here. So
that's true.
But anyways, getting back to the bets. So Hideki at 40. I like Ricky at 45.
Nice.
And then the big one that I've got, and I wrote him up to, is Justin Thomas at 50 to 1. That's absurd.
That's I couldn't believe that number.
That's absurd. You have to bet that number.
And I don't even love JT at this course, but that's a really bad line. Like that's a bad in your favor line. And so, you have to put something on that because it's just a mistake. There's no way to say that 50 to 1 on Justin Thomas is a mistake.
And he's been down there. He's tuning himself. He's worked with the Titleist to get a new set of irons under him. I mean, he's really trying to be ready to compete here. And I like his shot shape for this course. I like his ball flight for this course. And lest we forget, Justin Thomas is probably one of the top 5 ball strikers in the world still.
Yeah, so, talent-wise, he's off the charts.
So I think it's silly to not throw some money at a 50 to 1 Justin Thomas. I mean, that's absurd. So please go bet that number.
Yeah. I see Jason Day has slipped to 50. His recent form after his win, not impressive. He's kind of hit a little skid here after his win a few weeks ago. But 50 to 1 for him is pretty good. Ricky Fowler has slipped to 50. That's decent. But JT compared to Ricky Fowler at the same number, that's an obvious choice for me. It's JT.
And the funny thing is, call it a gut feel. I don't know. I really think that JT has a legit shot here. Like,
right.
I really like the way that this sets up. I've looked at some of the course flyovers. I've looked at some of the positions that you need to be hitting second shots from. Like, this really lines up well for Justin Thomas. He's got to go out and execute, but on paper, on flyovers, it looks like a course he could really play well at. So,
all right. Some of these guys I like, but not love enough to bet on. Well, we'll talk about them in DFS for sure, but I'm definitely betting on. I put Derek Huff here because that's Derek on Step Brothers, his brother, played by the actor named Adam Scott. So I'm betting 70-1 on Adam Scott. This dude owns California courses. He's been doing it consistently well for 22 years. You know how hard it is to keep a PGA Tour card for 22 years, period? This guy has stayed up at the top for that long. Adam Scott.
2 minutes.
Yeah, 70-1. The guy used to be the world number one for a little bit. We always crack at his funky putting with his stupid blue long putter that everybody hates. It's cringeworthy to watch Adam Scott putt. He's 37th in strokes gained putting this season. And you would think that his strong suit would be approach because that's been his whole career. He's like 138th on approach this year. So if he pulls his ball striking together like we know he can, this guy is prime on California courses. 70-1 for Adam Scott. That's bananas.
Yeah, I can't fight you there, except to say that I like Wyndham Clark better at the same number.
Windbag is a friend of the show, outstanding human being. He won you some money. I tailed you on that Wyndham Clark bet a few weeks ago when he broke through for his first ever. Shout out Wyndham Clark, always a fan. But I got to disagree with you. The same 70-1, I would almost bet Siwoo Kim at the same number as Wyndham Clark.
Like Siwoo as well. That 70 area, a lot of juicy people.
It's loaded. So that you guys are starting to put the picture together with why I'm risking the most units I have in any single week this year for this event, because there's so many guys that are mispriced. There's so many guys with really bad odds, and it just seems strange to not bet on the guys I like, especially when the odds are so good. Like, we're getting discounts everywhere we look here, and yeah, all three of those guys are good. I think I would go in the order Scott, Kim, Clark, but I like all three of them.
So I'll make a quick argument for Clark. I think the biggest thing with him is he's going to edge them both out on distance. He's already been accurate off the tee, which was not always his hallmark. So he's got the accuracy in play. He's already proven that on tight courses where you've got to set yourself up for a good second shot, that he can execute that, and he's been doing it consistently. And then the other thing too is his approach game has been ridiculous, not only from short but from long. And so his all-around approach is really been.
And he's a great putter.
And he really has had a great run with the putter. And you and I talk about it a lot. This is not a quantifiable metric, but he's in the right headspace. Like, you listen to interviews with the guy, he's really got it all put together, and he's not living and dying by each shot, to quote him. So.
What did Arnie say? Golf is played in the 6 inches between your ears. That is 100% accurate, and it's an evergreen statement, quoting Arnold Palmer. Yeah, the game of golf. Yeah, it's hundreds of yards, 7,400 yards this week, par 70. It's still going to take place between the ears, especially when 72 holes. On this type of course, it's going to be exhausting mentally. That's the one thing people don't respect is, you can walk 72 holes if you're in decent shape. Being able to process and dive down into information and pressure and all the fatigue built into just the mind games. It takes that more than anything to win a PGA Tour tournament, and even more to win a major like the US Open. I think that's the big thing in Wyndham Clark's favor is we've seen him tie his whole mind game together so that he's not cracking when the going gets tough.
I'll throw one real deep one, and then we'll get into some DFS. I think you probably got at least one deep one.
I do. Deep.
My deepest one is Justin Suh at 300 to 1. So has been quietly playing really well. He opened at 200.
Shout out NorCal.
California kid. Yeah, so I loved him at 200. I absolutely adore him at 300 to 1.
Yeah.
And the thing that I really like with him is the potential to bet make the cut, some top 20, top 40. He absolutely, I think, will get that done for you. And he's one of the few people that deep that has any chance at actually winning this tournament. He's got the right game for it.
It falls off pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
After 100 to 1, it drops off a cliff.
And so I saw him way down there in no man's land and just thought to myself, here's another misprice. So Justin Suh, if you're not super familiar with him, excellent from long range approach. Absolutely in the top 10 in this field for that, which is super important. He also has a very stellar wedge game, also in the top 10 for wedge approach. Par 5 scoring,
and
the box there. Long off the tee, accurate off the tee, and you got a little bit wider fairways. This is a really, really deep shot that actually has upside to win. So 300 to 1, I'd throw $5 at it. What the hell?
That's correct. And 11th in strokes gained putting, which is why I like him so much. Because if you can putt and you're from California, that's going to travel pretty well. Pretty well. Love that. I love his best friend. Long hitter, top 10 in the world on long approach. Great wedge game.
Is he from
Streaky
NorCal?
Putter. He's from Northern California. I competed against his older brother in high school. No. Unsuccessfully, I might add.
Are his initials KK?
They are. He is also known as Quadzilla on tour. Because they build some girthy thighs up here in Northern California. We're a bunch of corn-husking, corn-fed, big thighed motherfuckers, and that's Kurt Kitayama. I mean, it sounds like I'm a homer, but it's for good reason. You don't put the 20th ranked golfer in the world at 180 to 1. That doesn't compute no matter what. You're dealing with a guy who's won $6.5 million this season. Something's missing here. Then you add in the course fit, just like what you're saying about Justin Thomas. Low ball flight, right to left preference, great with long approach, hits it far enough to gouge out of the rough and get back into play, and a guy who can get hot with the putter. Kurt Kitayama fits this course perfectly. Why am I crazy, Connor?
So to be perfectly honest, I thought you were, and in preparation for knowing you were going to bring up Kurt Kitayama, I actually dove in, and I've come around on him. I looked at a lot. I looked at a lot of stuff today because his name comes up, right, on a lot of shows that you might watch. A lot of betting shows in particular, his name comes up, right? Because
we were first to that, by the way.
100% we were. And so a lot of people are kind of dogging him and hey, we're out on him, blah, 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 blah. He hasn't done shit since he won.
Okay.
And I would agree with a lot of that. And his stats aren't going to tell you to go play him. But to your point, I think course fit, I think some of the shot shape stuff that I kind of came upon this afternoon as I was doing research, I think he fits here a little bit better than I thought he did. So, I think taking a few shots at another friend of the show. Yeah, I'd throw a couple bucks
last time we played him, he finished in the top 5. And this time I'm feeling a little bit of Bay Hillish right now, where I think if there is a course comp that they've played already this season, it's Bay Hill. It's a bomber's paradise here. You can really take advantage of the holes that are shorter if you're hitting quality shots. And if you're sinking putts, it just screams Kurt Kitayama, because everywhere we've seen him pop up, it's been where all the top golfers in the world are in the top 10, and they weeded all the low-hanging fruit out. Like, it's all top golfers. And then there's one guy that you're like, I've heard of him, but he's not commonplace. He's not your name brand type guy. And it's Kurt Kitayama every single time. Every single time there's a course where it's like, oh, it's so hard that only the top guys are popping up on the leaderboard. It's Rahm, it's Scheffler, it's Rory. That was Bay Hill, where he beat 5 of the top 10 golfers in the world on Sunday under all that pressure on a difficult golf course. 180-1 is an insult, to be honest.
Yep. And again, I think a lot like Justin saw too, though. I feel a hell of a lot better.
I love that they're best friends, by the way. Irony.
Good Lord. Thank you, Basil Hayden.
Ironious.
My speech impediment is sponsored by Basil Hayden. But like I was going to say, I think that I do prefer both of them. Getting into the T10, T20, throw a couple of bucks at the outright, but I think that these are much stronger T10, T20 plays, where you're going to get some real value on them. So
7-1 T20 for Kurt Kitayama.
Yeah, I think that's a really plausible finishing spot for him. So yeah. Just some deep shots, just if you want to have a little fun and possibly have the biggest sweat of your life if they're there on Sunday. So
yeah, I remember it still like makes me shake thinking about it. And I was poolside. I was as chill as it could be, and still it gives me chills. All right, let's head over to DFS. We are running long, but it's major. It's a major. It's the US Open. We deserve it. We got lots of players to cover. Let's hit. No more trunk slams like Conor last week.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
So before we get started, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. This is the 19th hole. We are always live on In Between Media. Cheers to you. We're drinking spirits. We're feeling spiritual. It's the US Open. I just love the fact that we can get so much leverage on this DraftKings slate. The pricing is stupid. DraftKings is going to lose their ass this weekend. And it's all because we're going to find the leverage spots that nobody's playing that are going to kill it here. Conor, lead us off.
So if we're kicking off up in that 10K and above region, I'm gonna only play Victor Hovland and Brooks Koepka. I'm gonna be completely out on a 24% owned Scotty Scheffler.
Smash it. Just like our bets, those two guys are smashing values.
Well, and dude, Brooks is coming in at projected 15%, and I just do not get that. Starting at Brooks and just being able to build actually a relatively balanced lineup. Like, I think that's a great starting spot. You're not even going to have to get weird in your lineup, at least not projected to have to get weird, because at 15% as your top first guy in, you faded coming up on 30-40% of the field, because a lot of people are gravitating towards the John Rahms. Justin Rose is getting a lot of 18%. He's not in the same tier, but the guys that are top tier right now are Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Victor Hovland, Justin Rose, and John Rahm, are all 18% or higher. So I will eat some chalk on Victor Hovland, though, for all the reasons I talked about in the betting side. And I also like that I can go Victor Brooks to start a lineup. I think that's a pretty solid start. So
completely agree. I'm with you 100%. The leverage is so beautiful this week. Isn't it wonderful that you can get your guys and it doesn't cost you? You don't have to share with everybody in the lobby. I don't like sharing, so I think it's perfect. Like, those two guys are exactly where I'm starting all my lineups. And I have a feeling that our next tier of guys under 10K are going to be similar too.
Yeah, so under 10K, I really, really, really like Rory. I really, really like the leverage that you get with Rory, and I like the price at 9,900. Um,
How
there
is he leverage at that price? That's weird.
because nobody believes that he's going to do anything, right? Like,
It's
and
too good to be true, though.
what's wild about Rory, and I talk about this all the time, and it's part of the reason that I love Rory as much as I do just in real life, is the reason people dog Rory is because he's not winning. If you go and look at him statistically, if you look at where he's finishing, like these are um, finishes and stats that you would just overlook if it was anybody else in the world. But because it's Rory, everybody's like, well, he didn't win the last tournament. I'm not going to play him. Well, he's going to win again, guys. Like this is
Yeah.
an
He's going to
inevitability.
win, and even if he doesn't win, he's going to score a shit ton of fantasy points.
Which is the other part about DFS, right? Is like, I don't care if you like Rory. I don't care if you think he's going to win. I don't care if you hate his stance on live golf, whatever. But he scores an ass load of DFS points every single time he tees it up. And for the most part, he makes cuts, right? So I think Rory is an awesome leverage play. And I think he's priced perfectly to build just a really, really nice balanced lineup. You can alternate between him and Hovland. You can go Brooks, Rory. You can go Hovland, Rory. You can even go Hovland, Rory, and then drop down to Justin Thomas if you want to, just to be a little bit different. So yeah, I think Rory's probably the number one play for me in the nines, honestly, just based on rostership and possible outcomes.
Completely agree. It's a misprice, and we have to take advantage of those, especially when it's a discount and he's not popular. That's a match. That's exactly what we're looking for. No matter the DFS sport, it's not unique to golf. This is what we look for: low ownership, high upside. Not many higher upside guys than that. Let's see.
I think fade wise in the nines too, just to throw a couple of guys out there. Like I'll be fading Max Homa. Um, I Max Homa's upside just isn't there for me. I know you mentioned him in the betting part, but like statistically, he doesn't rate out all that great for me. Like he's now dropped into the bot. Like he's still in the top 20, but he's at the very back end of the top 20 in this field overall for me. And quite frankly, like he just really hasn't done a whole lot. Like he spiked a little bit, during whatever this whatever this dry streak he's on is. But I'll probably be a full fade on Homa. And then
I think so too, because Xander's right there at 200 more. I'm going to play Xander 10 out of 10 times over Homa if I have the extra $200.
yeah, and I actually like Morikawa for $100 less. Like, yeah, he's coming off a WD with the back issue, but by all reports, he's doing just fine.
You trust his putting here, though?
It's not necessarily I trust his putting, but I trust his off the tee game. I mean, nobody hits more fairways than Colin Morikawa,
And nobody finds closer to the hole than him either.
And he's excellent with long irons. So he's not the longest guy on tour off the tee, but he's damn near, if not the best long iron player in the game right now. So
yeah, and with the wedge,
93
wedge games. Yeah. His wedge game's a really strong area, like wedge approach. Around the greens, he's okay. Putting, it scares me. I don't know if he's going to convert any of his scoring opportunities, and if he has to make a clutch par putt, I really don't like the sound of that because he's not one of the guys you're expecting to make that very confidently.
The leverage play in the nines is going to be Fitzpatrick, if anybody cares. So Fitzpatrick is at 8%. I do not like how this sets up for Fitzpatrick at all.
No, and he doesn't score fantasy points anyway.
No, he doesn't unless he wins, right? Like if I thought he was going to win, I would play
him. He doesn't score points by making birdies. He scores points by standing.
Yeah. I mean, literally by breathing, by being there, he scores some points. But no, I don't particularly like how this sets up for Fitzpatrick, and yeah, I don't think you get the return on value there. So, Cam Smith at 9 flat is only 11% projected. I think that's another excellent play.
Oh God, yes, that's a winner.
And what's wild is if you want to be go like really really balanced, you can start rosters at Cam Smith at 9 flat, and you can get 4 guys in the 8s in there with him, and the 8s are pretty well loaded up with potential high finish guys. So
Yep, I completely agree. And let's start with one of those guys in the high 8s. Are you a fan of Tony Finau? I said it really softly, so you could say, "Oh, what was that? Did you not? I couldn't hear you." What's the word? I need to know. I'm not playing him, but I want to know if you are.
I'm not. Anybody who's new to the show, go back and watch some of our previous shows. Like I've made the
Dead to me.
of dipping my toe on Tony Finau a couple of times now. I'm done. I'm done with Tony Finau.
He took a sledgehammer to your toe.
If Tony Finau wins the US Open, God love him. But I'm just not. I'm
you're the kiss of death if that's the case.
I'm done with Tony Finau, and I'm certainly done with Tony Finau projected at 14% when there's guys around him to play more. So so my first guy in the 8s is again going to be Justin Thomas, projected at 5.3% rostership.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I love JT. I already highlighted a bunch of the reasons that I love JT. I especially love him at 8,700. I think that's another misprice. I think he should be up there in the Terrell Hatton, Fitzpatrick.
My favorite guy is even more underpriced in the 8s. So I'm itching to talk about him. But go ahead.
So JT, and then again, Hideki is another one that he is a little more popular, but again, walk me through how Hideki and JT are lower priced than Jordan Spieth, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Tony Finau. I mean, they're all about the same caliber of golfer. So take the savings, go down to like guys, and go from there. I like the ability to build a really balanced roster using JT and Hideki and starting at Cam Smith too as another roster build option for you.
Dustin Johnson, 8,300. Is this a prank? Am I being punked right now? Because that's ludicrous.
So either you and I are two of the dumbest people on the planet, or
we're the only ones talking about how much DJ is just awesome, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's a fair price. He should be 35-1. He should be 8,300." And we're the only ones going, "What is going on here?"
So my thinking is he should be in the 8s. Like, I actually don't know that I believe that Dustin Johnson is that mispriced. But what's interesting is Dustin Johnson at 8,300 is only projected at 8.5% roster right now. So I don't understand how he is not just uber chalk at that price point.
Because we're the dummies who are gonna prop him up.
Probably, yeah.
Sucker born every day. Here we go, 1 and 2.
But realistically, we talked about why we like him, and I definitely think that the roster percentage there, the leverage opportunity, and quite frankly, Dustin Johnson's a dude that when he was playing on the PGA Tour, not too distant past, I mean, he would be coming in at 10.5 to 11.4 every single week in the cost on DFS. He scored a shitload of DraftKings points, so.
And he won a lot of tournaments.
Yeah,
there was a lot of winning when DJ was on the PGA Tour. What, a year and a half, 2 years ago? I'm pretty sure he didn't forget how to do that, and he's shown he hasn't forgotten that. He's been winning on the Live Tour. He's competed in both majors this year. It's just, I think it's hilarious. 8,300, and he's under 10% rostered. That's a full send.
Dial him up. I'm going to throw one more before we get in the 7s. I actually, call me crazy, but I think taking some shots at Cam Young here at 8K.
Woof, no, you can't do it. I can't do it.
So
he sucks right now. He sucks right now.
Quick argument. I promise I won't drone on. But statistically, he's actually not doing as badly as it might appear. And there's a couple of things that jumped off the page at me. And it's the proximity from 200 plus, and it's the par 3 scoring on 225 plus. So strokes gained on any par 3 that's over 225 yards. He's number 4, ironically, on both metrics. So, and that's actually only over the last 24 rounds. So
it's because he hits a 7-iron 225 yards.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if he hits a rake 227 yards. To me, all that matters is he picks up strokes on those approach metrics and those distances. So yeah, to me, Cam Young at 8 flat.
Nope.
I just am throwing it out there because he does rate out pretty well on some of the distances we're looking at, even over the last 24 rounds, where he by eyesight
he might lose if he misses the cut, which I think he does. He's gonna lose 8 strokes putting to the field in 2 rounds.
I'll take your bet. He makes the cut. Okay. I'll buy you a beer. Buy you a beer if he misses the cut.
We have a system. You're on.
All right, get into the sevens.
Sevens, not as appealing. It really gets nasty down here. Joaquin Niemann, he's a point scorer. I hope he makes a cut. If he makes the cut, we're in business with Joaquin Niemann the way he scores. But Joaquin Niemann has a very bad double bogey problem.
Yeah, I think I bought the bill of goods on Joaquin a couple times too many. I think I like what he can do, but I think I'm going to be late to the party. Let him show me he can still do it because I just haven't seen it.
Not lately. Who do you like here? Joe's Chalk Central.
So Thigala
or Corey Connors.
Thigala is the one that everybody.
Oh no!
I'm not buying into that either.
Oh, it's an easy fade of the week. You're telling me Thigala's chalky?
He's getting there. So
that's nuts.
The two main ones that I like in the sevens, Joaquin Niemann, or not Joaquin Niemann. What I'm trying to say is the same price as Joaquin Niemann. Justin Rose, 7,700. Has just been on a tear, keeps popping up. Right now, statistically really well. And then Wyndham Clark, who rates out number 3 overall in my model based on how I weighted all the keys I looked at. $7,500. Take the savings and take it to the bank because Wyndham Clark, I really think, is going to be in the top 5, definitely top 10. And 7,500.
You heard it here.
7,500, I think, is an absolute steal for a guy that's been doing what he's been doing.
Yeah, I agree there. And then I go down to my guy, Siwoo Kim, 7,300. Way too cheap. Way too cheap for Siwoo. The way he's been playing. It's been really a quietly amazing season for Siwoo Kim. And that's going to continue. The next guy I have is a 6,800, so it's pretty gnarly down here in the low 7s, and the 6s. There's a couple shots we can take, but it's looking pretty rough. The streets are very rough right now.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best not to be down there. I want to rattle off a couple other guys that rated out real well. I won't go into their stats, but Gary Woodland, 14th in my model at 7,200. Mito Pereira, 18th in my model, 7,200. Siwoo rated out well for me as well. You already touched on him. Justin Suh, 7,100. Yep. And then Eric Cole at 7K. Eric Cole looked cool as a cucumber.
He's on fire this year. This guy's on fire right now.
Watching interviews with him, I thought they'd have to check him for a pulse. The guy just cannot be rattled. So
he's like Cantlay if he could play faster.
Yeah, and actually he's got a sense of humor too. So he's maybe the more lovable Patrick Cantlay. But 7K I think is an awesome deal for him, and he is by far and away the best wedge player in the field right now. He's from 100 to 125 yards, rates out far and away number 1 in this model. So and then into the 6s, so we can get some people maybe go check out our fantasy mock draft over on the football show. I actually want to take a few shots at Michael Kim. He did pop a little bit for me at 6,900. Tee to green game rates out in the top third of this field. And then he's number 10 in this field, actually, from 225 yards, strokes gained, par 3. So that's a pretty big deal. And number 17 in this field for bogey avoidance. So Michael Kim at $6,900. Another guy that I feel pretty confident can at least flirt with making the cut. But again, I'm not a big proponent of getting down into the sixes this week.
Yeah, and the one that stands out for me is Kurt Kitayama. Again, tough golf course, tough field. This guy's always there in those types of places. 6,800 for a guy who's still in the top 20 in the world rankings, guys. $6.5 million this season. He's good. And I have a feeling that he's going to pay off immensely at that price. That's all I got, DFS wise. Do you have anybody you want to throw a huge dart on way down deep?
I wouldn't call it a huge dart, but I definitely got to take my shot at one of the 5 greatest rappers of all time, Dylon Wu.
Dylon Wu.
So yeah, Dylon, and Dylon. It's 64.
Shout out Southern Oregon.
And quite frankly, we talk about it almost every week at this point, but Dylan is proving to be the better Wu, and his stats are all kind of right in the lower third of this field, or the upper third of this field, I guess, or you want to look at it that way. So he can really get in the ring and box with these big guys, and he's kind of a steady Eddie. I definitely think that he's another guy that if you've got to be in the sixes, you got a better shot at him making the cut than a lot of these dudes.
That's true. You're looking for that cut maker at that price. And if you're down there, that's all you want. That's all you want.
Scores on par 5s too, man. He'll get you some points.
Me on the weekend. I'm with you there. I'm a big fan of both Woos. Brandon Wu from NorCal, Dylan Wu from Southern Oregon, which I have family there too. So I like both of them.
So US Open, final outright pick. Who's your guy? Who you think wins?
I think Cam Smith wins.
I really like that a lot. I am going to go way out on a limb. I think Justin Thomas. I think this is.
Woo!
That'll
be a payday. That'll be a payday. I
just have this feeling, and I think we're going to see JT come back to glory this week. What's the final score? I'm going to say I'll come down out of the atmosphere. I'm going to say 8 under.
I'll stick with 3 under.
First round leader,
I have Rahm, John Rahm, first round leader.
I'm going to go Brooks Koepka.
As good a bet as any. All right, you heard it here. 19th hole live. Do you even know what tournament's next week in the shadow of the US Open?
God, I should have looked that up. I don't actually know. Do you?
No, it's not even up on DraftKings yet, so we're not worried about it. We'll see you next week for whatever tournament comes after the US Open with hopefully some victory laps from the both of us. Oh, it's got to hit the outro.